Do not fight to keep people in your life. I want to share with you guys a painful experience that I've gone through where I learned this concept the hard way. And then I also want to point out that there is actually a time and a place where it does make sense to fight for somebody to stay in your life. There's a subtle nuance to it though, so I'll address that situation more towards the end of the video. But first, let me just start out by explaining to you guys what happened in my first relationship, because essentially I was in a 5-year relationship when I was in my early 20s. And the relationship was good. Initially, the girl was honestly out of my league. I was very attracted to her. We had a lot of fun. We connected a lot in the first couple of years of the relationship. And as the relationship continued to go on and on and on, and we both kind of grew slightly apart, it got to a place where I no longer knew if I wanted to be in the relationship. And after about 5 years of dating, it got to this place of, are we gonna get married or are we not? And I was so young at the time and inexperienced. I was not in a position where I could commit to making that decision at that point in my life. But I also was not in a place where I could let this girl leave my life because I really loved her and I had built something with this woman. Now, as we continued to date and the attraction started to go down and I just didn't really know what to do because of my inexperience and lack of confidence and lack of ambition and drive really too. I was just kind of delivering pizza, smoking weed while I was commuting to college in my early 20s. But it got to a point where we actually went on a break and she started to talk to another dude. And once we broke up, I was trying so hard to get this woman back into my life, man. I was trying so hard. We went on and off for a couple of months. You know those couples that like break up and then they're back together and then they break up and they're back together? We were doing this like on and off thing for about 6 to 9 months after the 5 years ended. And I never really got her back. It was always just me kind of chasing as she was still continuously talking to this other dude. And I want to explain to you guys, like, I tried so hard to get this girl back at that point. I tried everything. I was the stereotypical beta simp. Like I stopped smoking weed because that was something she never liked that I did. I started going to the church that she took me to a couple of times. I would literally try to like post it on my IG story in hopes that maybe her or her friends would see that I was starting to go to the church. I would go to the gym at the same time every day, just hoping that I would see her there because I knew that sometimes she would work out at this specific time of the day. And I kept texting and calling and trying to do whatever I could to try to prove to this girl that I was still willing to make the relationship work. And honestly, like, there was some things I did do right, but there was a lot of things that I did wrong. And that's going to tie into the second half of this video about when it actually makes sense to fight for somebody. This is not just with women, by the way, but I learned this probably the most painful way possible. I think in a long-term relationship, fighting for somebody and losing them long-term to another partner is a very painful experience. It also brought a lot of lessons learned, and I'm going to share some of them with you guys in this video. But essentially, after trying to get this woman back and displaying a lot of weak behaviors and putting up with a lot of things that I wouldn't have previously tolerated, I was at my lowest, and I guess you could even say most desperate point in the relationship, or really even in my life, honestly. I was at the lowest, most desperate point in my life where I would pretty much do anything to try to get this girl back. I was overly anxious about the whole thing and so nervous like every single day about the whole situation as I continued to see her reaching out to me periodically, but then also still talking to this other dude. And then periodically reaching out to me, checking in on me getting hopeful about the whole thing, then me losing faith in the whole thing and kind of like going distant, only to have her reach back out again at some point. And so going through almost a year of this back and forth of trying to get her back, and then coming to a realization that it was over, and then giving up on the whole thing, and then having her come back to me, I noticed this power dynamic that was going on. And this ties into why you shouldn't fight for people to be in your life. All right, and this is a powerful lesson you could also apply to your friendships too. Again, it's not just with women, although I think that is women and pain is the strongest teachers for a man a lot of the times. But guys, understand as a dude, when you're willing to over compromise yourself and go back to tolerating certain behaviors that other people will do for your life, and you're willing to accept all of that, and not only that, still be begging or fighting for that person to be in your life, a lot of people will see that as low status. They'll see that as needy. They'll see that as desperate. They'll see that as weak. There's a tiny percentage of the time when it's not. And again, I'm going to address that later on. But majority of the cases with most men, when you're begging and fighting and really trying to make something work, when the other person isn't doing the same thing, like isn't reciprocating the actions or the behaviors that they would need to do as well, but you're still tolerating all of that and really still pleading for it, man, it lowers the other person's perception of you. All right, as it should, honestly, because the main theme of this video that you guys want to understand is that, like, if someone isn't willing to put in the work needed to be in your life, but you're still trying so hard to get them to come into your life, man, it's a messed up dynamic. It's a messed up dynamic. And I see a lot of dudes do this with women that they really want the girl and they're trying to impress the girl, so they go so far over the top and they break character. They overcompromise themselves as a means of trying to either impress, like that's what I was doing. I was trying to impress my ex at the time to show her that I was worthy of her coming back. You know, when I actually got her to come back, true story, honestly, she eventually did come back, right? But you know, when I actually got her to come back, it wasn't because I went to church 14 days in a row and started praying every day. It wasn't because I stopped smoking weed and I started dressing a certain way and I started doing all of these things and sent her flowers. It wasn't because of any of that. You know when it actually was? It was when I stopped reaching out. It was when I finally accepted, you know what? I've tried and I don't think this is gonna work. And instead of going above and beyond any further, I need to focus more on myself. Like, I lost myself in the process of trying to get this woman back. I've lost myself. I lost the core of myself as a man, of the things that really build myself up. I stopped doing those things. I stopped putting in the work. I stopped caring about myself. I literally overcompromised myself. I didn't care about my own self-development journey. It was at a point where I was just doing whatever I thought she would do. And that doesn't mean I need to go back to smoking weed. I meant I stopped doing the things that were building myself up as a man. Stopped hitting my wake-up time. I wasn't even hitting a wake-up time back then. No wonder she left me. I was smoking weed, but I wasn't on top of my diet. I wasn't eating clean. I was putting bad substances in my body. I wasn't hitting hard workouts. I wasn't putting in the work to build up something in my own life, in my own career. I wasn't going out of my comfort zone. You know what I was doing? I was sitting home crying, begging, wishing, hoping, pleading, praying, doing anything I could to stay comfy and to try to ease my mind, not realizing if I actually just put in the work and built myself up, man, I would have actually felt a lot better instead of turning to substances and comfort zone and comfort food, right? But not only that, once I finally gave up on the whole thing and said, you know what, like, I tried, but now I got to get back to me, that's when she came back. That's when she came back. Do you know why though? Because here's the thing, guys, it's not like, there's a lot of dudes online that talk about this idea that you shouldn't validate women, focus on yourself, bro, get the money, get the self-development, the women will come later. And there is some validity to that, but I see a lot of dudes talk about it where it comes from the wrong place. The reason that this girl came back, it's for a couple different reasons, but one of the main reasons is that I finally stopped displaying weakness. That's really what it is. And that's why in the beginning of the video, I was saying there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. But most of you dudes, when you start fighting for someone to be in your life, you overcompromise yourself in the process. Fighting for that person turns into begging, pleading, hoping, compromising, breaking character to do whatever you think would make them happy. You get what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference between still being on top of your shit and being a strong individual and fighting for something that you want without compromising your character. Like, that's the difference, is that when we fight for somebody, because we're like, look, most of us growing up, we're nice guys, man. We're polite. We just genuinely want a good girl in our lives, right? And then there's this red pill theory that's like kind of like the opposite, where it's the nice guy that got hurt, and so he closed off, and now he has these ultimatums in place where he won't compromise certain things. But I'm telling you guys, like, it's actually okay to not compromise certain things, like your self-development journey and your goals and your morals, but also you can fight for somebody to be in your life still. Now, after a certain point, if the other girl or friend or individual is not reciprocating or not being reasonable or not putting in effort, but you're actually putting the effort forward, you're fighting for it, that's the moment you got to realize, hey, this doesn't seem to be, the effort is not being reciprocated, and I'm trying. I would define fighting in a healthy way is confidently sticking to your morals, not compromising your self-development journey and your goals, but also being open and communicative about what's going on in the situation. I think a lot of these red pill dudes they're not open to communicating about it. It's just like, if there's this red flag or this toxic thing or whatever it is, they just think like it's done. Either it's my way or the highway kind of a thing. It's like, you're not going to be in a relationship. You're not going to have really, really long-term friendships with people without having conflict. Conflict is absolutely essential. It will happen. You're not going to meet somebody that's just perfectly aligned with you for the rest of your life. Conflict will happen. Disagreements will happen. There may even be mild forms of disrespect that happen. You perceive it as disrespect. The other person doesn't realize they disrespected you. That's why you have conflict resolution. All right? But you don't over-compromise and simp and beta and hope and pray and plead and beg to get somebody to stay in your life. That's the difference, man. There's a right way and a wrong way to keep somebody in your life. And when I imagine the old me, when I would fight for the girl to be in my life, it really just pushed her away further. When I finally learned the painful way that she was going to go with this other dude, and I was like, okay, you know what? All of that weak shit that I was trying wasn't even working. I got to get back on my shit, man. Gotta get back on my shit. And then I finally started doing that, and then months went by, and I actually felt fucking good because I was no longer the weak guy. I cried and I got all that shit out, and I finally moved on. I got my shit together, and I was finally the dude that I needed to be, the dude I should have been in the relationship to begin with. Like, you don't need to wait till it's over to cry and lose your shit. You gotta do this in the relationship, man. That's how you actually command the respect to begin with. You command the respect in a friendship the same way too, because you're on top of your shit and you don't compromise yourself, and you can lead by example in a lot of these elements, dude. But once I finally did all of that, she came back. Now, honestly, truth be told, it was way too late. She came back way later, and I was already moved on, and I couldn't go back to it at that point. But that's because I played the relationship wrong. If you do these things properly up front, it doesn't need to get to a painful place. But sometimes you got to go through that heartbreak. Sometimes you got to go through a painful relationship ending or friendship ending for you to move on and reflect and learn from it and adjust to really build the character in yourself. We all have flaws. We all make mistakes, guys. But the dudes who reflect on them, learn from their mistakes, adjust, optimize themselves moving forward to become the better individual, and those are the guys that I see there at the highest level. The dudes who kind of close off, they put these walls up, they make these hard non-negotiables in certain areas of dating and stuff, like in friendship. Some of that's good, but you just got to be aware, dude, because some of it can be like very toxic from my experience after coaching a lot of men and dating for a lot of years. All right. So just to sum this up, guys, have morals, have your own ethical standards, and have your self-develop, have clear goals for your self-development journey, your business, and the things you want to accomplish in your life. And you got to not compromise on those things. You got to go after what you want. And you can't be weak. You can't beg, plead, and fight to try to keep somebody in your life if it means you're going to compromise these goals that you have for yourself, man. Be strong. All right, be strong, and you will attract like-minded people into your life that help uplift and support you long-term. All right, that's all for this video, guys. If you want to work with me directly to strengthen these areas of your life, click the link down below. Check out the brand new coaching programs. That's all for this video, guys. Stay strong, fellas. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.